Welcome to Video Games Revisited. Today we're going to be playing Phoenix on the Atari 2600. Phoenix was originally an arcade game developed by Amstar and published by Centuri and Taito. The Atari 2600 version was a port that was released later. It's a fairly typical space shooter, which is difficult to tell considering the complete lack of stars or background, but a quick flick through the instructions will confirm this. The sound effects are also some fairly generic sounding beeps, accompanied by a very short loop, which is unclear as to whether it's music or the sound of the enemies hovering. But whatever it is, it's incredibly annoying and really doesn't add anything to the game. As far as gameplay goes, you're confined to moving left and right across the bottom of the screen, and the aim of course is to shoot down the enemies you can see moving about at the top. Now this is actually a pretty hard game, and despite the fact you're given between 4 and 6 lives to be getting along with, on your first couple playthroughs you'll probably find yourself dying fairly quickly. This is presumably why a force field's been built in, which you can activate by pulling back on the joystick and will protect you from all enemy fire for a second or so, but will also stop you from moving. After your shield runs out, you'll have to wait around 4 seconds for it to recharge so you can use it again. So you can't just continually protect yourself by enemies by rapidly pulling backwards on the joystick. Whilst this force field is undoubtedly here to help the player, I find as you can't move while it's activated, you leave yourself quite prone for just a second after it runs out, which can be fatal if a shot's on its way to you already and is timed just right. Phoenix consists of 5 stages. Stage 1 and 2 is a flock of birds that move side to side across the top of the screen. The bottom pair of birds will come away from the rest of the flock and swoop down shooting at you and moving quite erratically, and can also swoop directly at you in an attempt to kill you. Stage 2 is actually unlike any other stage in the game, in the respect that you can achieve the highest rate of firepower by holding down the power button, and each time your shot has disappeared, another shot will be fired instantly, whereas at every other stage in the game, you have to press the fire button each and every time you want to fire a shot. Now it's unclear whether this is intentional or not, but it is referenced in the instruction book, which I find quite bizarre, and I can't really see why it would be intentional, as it doesn't add anything to the game or go any way to explaining why this happens. The enemies in stage 3 and 4 are actually phoenixes, although you'll need quite a good imagination to identify them as such, as they remind me more of aquatic creatures like stingrays. In any case, their formation and movement is very different to the enemies from stage 1 and 2, and whilst they stay fairly ordered, they'll almost swarm around the screen, very close to your ship, making avoiding their shots quite difficult. If I was being critical, I'd say they actually get too close to the ship and sometimes fire off shots that are impossible to avoid. Another point that sets these enemies apart from the birds in round 1 and 2 is the fact that you have to be very accurate with your shots to kill them, because if you just clip their wings they'll get shot off and eventually regenerate. So in order for your shot to be fatal you have to hit them right in the belly or the face or whatever it is to finish them off. And as you can only have one shot on screen at a time in this game, it certainly pays to be accurate when you're on these stages. Stage 5 is the mothership, and the idea of this stage is you have to shoot through the hull of the ship to get to the alien inside, and once this alien has taken one shot and died, the round is over. To make life a little more interesting, the blue strip midway up the ship actually rotates, so you'll have to get quite a few shots in at the same point to break through it. With the mothership down, you of course are whipped back to stage 1 again, so you can play the game through and gain yourself more points. Overall, Phoenix is a technically solid but fairly unimpressive shooter game, and its generic use of swarms of spacecraft and a single unit firing up doesn't really grab me that much. And it's certainly missing that charm that a lot of these classic games have to make it enjoyable to come back to and play even today. And even though you're given 5 rounds, there's not really any variety in there. I mean, 1 and 2 are the same, 3 and 4 are the same, and the boss battle on stage 5 is different, but it's still not really much to be getting on with and not much to grip you. So that's about it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Take care.